Hello Ponty, here is some Punch-a-Bunch feedback in hopefully only a few minutes. Firstly, the movement. I think the movement at the moment is a little bit slow. In the devlogs we saw a way to dash, and I still think that this would be very fitting for the game. Maybe double tapping the movement stick in a direction to dash would work well. Maybe tying it to the stamina system or the fatigue system so that one maybe only can dash in short succession, maybe 2 or 3 times before getting somewhat fatigued would work well. Secondly, the camera. I instantly noticed that the camera rotates too slowly with the character. As you can see here in the footage, I can easily circle around the dummy without the camera being able to follow at all. Also with that, I find that the camera is still panned a little bit too far out when close up to an enemy. There's a lot of empty space above the screen where there's literally nothing other than the background that could be valuable to use when trying to line up a proper punch. I do not feel that it should be too close, as one should still be able to see the most of the arena, but it's a little bit too far. To the fighting mechanics. So far the fighting mechanics feel nicely developed and nicely timed. I would also love to see multiple options for the player in terms of weight class of the character, so that you can choose a lighter character that naturally hits softer and a heavier character that hits harder. One thing I was definitely missing when trying out the fighting mechanics in the game was a quick way to cancel my punches. Now you can cancel a punch by simply using the block button for that arm, but it doesn't feel fast enough. I know this isn't probably supposed to be a super high level fighting game, but I do definitely feel that having a certain amount of depth in the combat mechanics would definitely help people wanting to play the game longer and more to get better at it over a long time. I possibly thought that even a duck button, a dedicated duck button would work too. You can lean down and therefore get a sort of duck, but it doesn't feel fast enough and it doesn't feel impactful enough. Equally so, one could have maybe clicking the leaning stick inwards to do the stick click, as it may be called, I don't know, to duck quickly could work well. This could also be tied to the fatigue system once again. Ducking too many times too quickly could also tire you out, but it could be a quick way to respond when seeing that an enemy is going for a high punch. And that's what I want to get into now. Seeing. I think the visualization for this game is going to be the most important thing to get people used to the mechanics of the game quickly. This game, I think, definitely benefits from having approachable, easy mechanics that one can find themselves into quickly. I immediately found that I was missing a way to see where those punches were actually going. I found myself fumbling around, leaning left and right, trying to figure out where to hit where I wanted to. In Unreal Engine, I know that there is a way to do raycast decals, and possibly with that you could do a very, very simple red transparent line or a transparent zone which indicates how high or low your punch is going to go based on the way that you're leaning.
You could possibly link this to the rotation of the character in the Blueprint player class.
My god, that is a tongue twister.
Short side note during editing. This visual indicator of course should only be visible when charging up a punch, and also only be visible when close enough to the enemy so that the punch would actually hit. It could also be nice that the visual indicator conforms to the body of an enemy as a decal would do.
Next, one thing that I also wanted to touch on is that though there's a lot of focus on the boxing in terms of the actual arm movement, a huge element of boxing is also the footwork. I think it could be interesting to play with ideas of when a character is, for example, leaning all the way to the right, charging up a punch. If they get hit on the left, all of their weight is on their right foot, causing them to stumble in the direction that they're leaning in. This could maybe stop the charge up, or cause the player to actually get staggered for a moment. This would be a good way to counter certain types of attacks without just blocking it straight up. I also noticed that there doesn't seem to be much of a use for hitting someone in the stomach. I think that the stun that happens when hitting someone with a hard punch in the head works really well, and I mean, from the devlogs we've seen, it seems to work quite well. I think there should also be a purpose of hitting someone in the stomach that isn't only just to bypass the block. For example, I think winding someone by getting a strong punch in the stomach, causing them to be, slowed, or causing them to not be able to punch as hard, or causing them to be fatigued by the fact that they've been hit really hard in the gut, which is a terrible place to get punched in. With that said, I really enjoyed the demo. This was a lot of fun to play and a lot of fun to be able to try out. Please keep making the game, and please keep on making awesome devlogs.